Hi guys, and welcome back to Cooking with Cody. On today's episode, I'm going to be showing you how to make a super fresh mango salsa that is great for parties or for snacking like during a movie or just anytime you need to make a great appetizer. I've made this a number of times and everyone has always loved it, so today I'm going to be sharing it with you. Try to make it yourself and let me know what you think. Alright guys, so the ingredients that you're going to need for this recipe are 2 ripe mangoes. You'll be able to tell they're ripe when you push your thumb into it, and if it pushes in really easy, almost like it's soft butter, then you know it's right, okay? We're going to need 1 red pepper. We're going to need some minced red onion, 1 tomato, 1 lime, 1 Anaheim chili, 1 jalapeno, a small bunch of cilantro, and then that's pretty much it, and we'll go ahead and get started. So just move these things out of the way. You guys are absolutely going to love this because it's just, this recipe is super fresh, super great. It doesn't take that long to prepare, and yeah, it's awesome. Okay, so the first thing we're going to start with is our mango. So to cut our mango, a mango has a seed that runs down the center right here, and it's kind of an oval-like seed that kind of runs, if you flip it to the side, it kind of runs this way throughout the fruit. You guys are going to see it once I cut it out. So you're going to want to find the top of the mango, and you'll see that one side is a little bit longer than the other. And so if I put it this way, it's a little bit more square. You want to have it this way so it's a long way kind of facing you with the stem up. And I'm going to cut directly down the side of where that mango is so that we can get around the seed. So you just want to take your cut, start at the top, work your way through and feel for that seed, and then just run right along the side of it so that you'll end up with this nice slice of mango. You're going to spin it then, and you'll do the same thing on the other side. Okay, so we spin it, cut it down, feel for that seed, and then just try to cut around the seed. Okay, and that gives us our 2 chunks of mango right there. Now, you're left with this, with the seed in the middle. Now, you can still cut out some flesh from the outside of this, so I usually do. I'll just kind of go from the top, and I'll cut around feeling for that seed. Same thing on the other side. And then you're left with this oval type seed that we've got here, which you can take a bite out of or just put it in your scrap bowl. I usually like to eat off some of the extra flesh just while I'm here, so. But you can save that for later. Then just put the rest of that in your scrap bowl. I've got a scrap bowl right here, which makes it really easy for me to just keep working so that I don't have to slow down. So now, for these flat parts, I'm just going to fillet off some of that flesh. So take your knife, kind of put your finger and pinch the skin, and take your knife, lay it flat, and just run that along the mango to fillet out that flesh, so that you get this nice, or you clean that the mango right off of the skin, and you can throw the rest of that into your scrap bowl. Okay, we'll do the same thing with the other one. Okay, that's cleaned off. Mango right there. Check to see if I have any extra skin on this little piece here. I missed just a little bit, so I'm going to cut that off. And put that away. Okay, now this we're just going to cut into little chunks. And we will put that into our bowl to mix up our salsa. So we'll go ahead and grab this and start filling up our bowl with our mango. Now, for the side halves, what I want to do is just go ahead and start making yourself a cross hatch pattern in there. So I'm just going to make slices in the mango so that they're kind of nice and close together, pretty small. Be careful not to cut through the mango and into your hand when you're doing this, so just go nice and slow. I've never cut myself doing this, but I'm always really careful to make sure I don't push too hard. If that mango is really soft, it's easy to just go right through the flesh, and you can kind of feel the knife on the other side. However, if your mango is pretty hard, I wouldn't recommend doing this because you're going to press too hard, and if you go through, you might cut your hand. So make sure you're using nice, soft, ripe mangoes. Alright, so you can see how I made kind of a checkerboard pattern there. Once I get that checkerboard pattern, I'm then going to take a spoon, okay? And all you gotta do is just scoop out the flesh from the skin. So just kind of go around. Like so. And all that beautiful flesh can just pour right in to your bowl, okay? So I got all that out. Awesome. Check again and see if I missed any skin. Just a little bit here that came off, so let me get that out of there. And then I'll go ahead and do the next one. So again, take your knife, just make some checkerboard like cuts in the mango. Be careful not to go all the way through to cut your hand. You'll be able to feel that knife on the other side, and you'll be able to feel when you hit the skin through the mango. Like so. Take our spoon and we'll scoop out that flesh. Okay, that's one mango down. On to the next one. So again, to cut your mango, there's a seed that runs along the center, right where the stem is. It runs the long way. So I'm going to put that so that the long way is the same direction as me, and I'm just going to cut down and around that seed. If you get too close to the seed, you'll feel it, it'll hit and it'll stop. Then just kind of cut around, or go a little bit more to the outside and cut around that. Same thing on the other side. There we go. 2 chunks of mango. I'll cut off some of this extra that's on the side here. Again, I'm just feeling for where that seed is, and then I'm left with this oval seed that will be your scrap. Okay. I'm then going to fillet these little chunks of mango here so that I can get this off the skin. So I'll just flip that upright. I'll put my knife flat. I'll hold the skin with my fingers, and then I just run my knife flat along so I can remove the flesh from the skin of the mango. Okay. This then gets cut up into chunks. We'll throw that into our bowl. And the same game with our second mango. All right, that's our mangoes. Awesome. Next, we're going to go ahead and we're going to cut up our tomato. So to cut up the tomato, this is what I will typically do. I will quarter the tomato. So just cut right down through the stem and then cut in half again. Cut in half again. Now, I like to remove the seeds of tomato. You don't have to remove them, but I feel like if I leave the seeds in, it just makes the salsa a little bit more watery. So what I'll typically do is I will separate, kind of push this down. I'll take the tip of my knife and I'll just start to cut around those seeds. And then I'll just kind of, again, put my finger on the bottom of the flesh once I cut that out, and I'll just run it along the flesh so that I can cut that out, and I'm left with just the meat of the tomato. The seeds you can discard, or I like to eat them, so it's just a chef's snack. So same thing. Again, make a small incision at the bottom to use your fingers to hold the bottom of the tomato, and then just cut flat so that you remove the seeds without taking away the meat. Okay. From there, we're going to cut these up into small chunks. So grab your the flesh of your tomato, skin side down, and then we're just going to kind of slice these into nice thin strips, which will then turn and cut into squares. Okay, there he is. All right, there's my tomato in. So 1 whole tomato. It says on the vine tomato. From here, I'm gonna do my red pepper next. Now, I only use half a red pepper. So I'm gonna just give my cutting board and my knife a quick rinse in the sink here to get rid of some of this mango juice, as I'm going to save the other half of the red pepper for another dish. All right, so that's cleaned off. Ready to get started again. So here we have our red pepper. Now, how I cut up a red pepper is the first thing I'm going to do is just cut off this stem. So I usually make a small cut and then I just rip off the rest of it. Throw that into your scrap bowl. I flip the pepper upside down, and then what I do is I cut from the bottom and I cut kind of in a curved motion around the flesh of the pepper. What that does is it allows me to get all the flesh of the pepper and cut around the seeds. And it's usually a pretty quick process, and it makes it really great for when you're done to have these nice flat pieces that you can then julienne, and then which is cutting into strips, and then turn and then make into more of a fine dice. So start at the top, cut down at an angle, and then just follow around so that you get this nice flat piece here. And you can see how I cut right around the skin. You'll notice that there's curves in the pepper where it sucks in. That is where the flesh on the inside connects. So I'll usually put that spot where it curves in the middle of my cut, so that I can kind of just cut that piece out. Now you can do this in 4 cuts or 3 cuts. I typically like to do it in 4. So just gonna again go around, cut down, and then I just cut off this last little piece of the bottom, which is edible, and I'm left with just the seeds and a little bit on the top. Okay, I scrap that. Now from here, I'm gonna cut up the red pepper into little squares, and we'll throw that into the bowl. Again, I only need half of a red pepper, so I'm gonna save these other little bit bigger chunks for later, but you guys can add as much red pepper as you want. It's really not, the ratios really don't have to be exact for this salsa. Just, you know, throw in what you think it needs, and then if you feel like it needs a little bit more pepper, add a little bit more red pepper. If you feel like it needs a little more mango, add a little more mango. It doesn't have to be perfect. So you just kind of taste and feel it out as you go. All right, so I cut those into strips, and now I'm going to do the same thing and just cut them into tiny little squares. This will be more of a fine or a small dice. And put that into my bowl. Okay. If you guys aren't sure how to cut like I'm cutting, where I'm using my knuckles, this is a method called the tip fulcrum method, where I use my knuckles as a guide and I rock the knife forward and back. You know, leave me a note in the comments and I'll do a video on how to show you guys how to do this. But if you can learn how to do this, it makes cooking so much faster, or prep work so much faster, because you're just a lot better with the knife, and you can cut a lot faster, and it's a lot safer than if you don't use your hand as a guide, or you're putting your fingers flat on the cutting board. All right, so red pepper's in. Next, we're going to do the jalapeno. So for the jalapeno, I will cut off the top. I'll then cut it in half. Okay, and I'm gonna cut it in half then one more time so that I get quarters of the jalapeno. Now, I don't like my salsa to be really spicy, so I cut the seeds out. You don't have to cut the seeds out. If you want it to be more spicy, leave them in. But basically, again, all I'll do is I'll just take the bottom of the jalapeno, I'll take my knife, and I'll just kind of run it along the flesh so that the seeds pop right out. Okay, that's that. That's that. And then I'm going to leave all the ratios for you guys at the end of this video. So if you want to fast forward to the end just to see what was all in the salsa, I'll just put that kind of in writing for you so that you can see those quantities real quick if you just want to fast forward, or watch me go through the whole video and then you'll be able to see how I do everything. Now, I don't need to, again, I only need half of a jalapeno here, so I'm actually going to put the other half to the side. And I like to cut the jalapeno into really, really small strips. because I do not want my guests to be biting into a big chunk of jalapeno. I think that could be unpleasant, especially since this is a sweeter salsa. So I cut them into maybe 1/16 by 1/16 inch bites, or squares, which gives it just enough that you know that there's some heat in there, but at the same time, it's not so overwhelming when they bite into that they're gonna, start sweating from the pepper. To be honest, when you prepare a jalapeno this way as well, you can barely even tell that it's in there. It just adds the great flavor of it, but it's so little that the spice really doesn't make the dish spicy at all. Okay, so there's our half a jalapeno. Scoop that up, put that in the bowl. And now the colors are really starting to come together, guys. I mean, this is a really, really beautiful salsa with all just the oranges and the greens and the reds. Absolutely beautiful. Great presentation for when you're putting it out for your guests. Next, I'm going to use the Anaheim chili. I prepare the Anaheim chili the exact same way. Cut off the top. I cut it in half. Okay. I cut it into quarters. Okay. Dump out some of those seeds. Got a lot of seeds falling out. And then I'm just going to remove the seeds. Anaheim chilies aren't as hot, but I still remove the seeds just because I don't really want them in my dish. Okay. Okay. Now, again, I'm only going to use a half of Anaheim chili again for this. So the other half I'll put to the side. And we'll cut these into small strips as well. Okay. Spin those all around. Okay, those can go in. Okay. Now, next we need some red pepper, or red onion. I've already cut up my red onion. I diced it a few days ago, so I've got some extra. If you guys aren't sure how to make a fine dice of a red onion, I have another video out there showing you 6 different ways to cut an onion, and in there I cover this. So just go check out that other video, and you should then be able to know how to dice an onion with your chef's knife. So for this, we probably need a small handful. Again, the ratios don't need to be exact. It's not a perfect science. I'd say maybe this is a 1/4 cup I'm throwing in. So just a little bit, throw it on the top. And then from there, I'm gonna grab my cilantro. Now, for cilantro, what I typically will do is I take the stems in my hand, and then I take the knife and I just kind of run it diagonally up to cut some of those leaves off. Okay, so you're just kind of pulling down and you're stripping the leaves from the stems. So then I'm left with this, and then that can go into your scrap bowl in a big pile of cilantro. I love cilantro, guys. It's so fresh. Using fresh herbs in your salsas, your dishes, just makes a huge difference in the way everything tastes. It's one thing that once I switched to using fresh herbs, it just made a huge difference in my cooking. All right. So now that I'm down to here, I think I got one leaf in there. It's a little bit brown. I'll take that out, throw that in my scrap bowl. So how I cut these is I'm going to chiffonade the greens. That's just basically a fancy way of saying we're going to roll them up real tight into kind of a cigar, and then we're going to cut them nice and fine. So I'm going to take my herbs, and what I do is I bunch them up, and then I start to kind of just roll them. I just roll them together so I get this nice tight kind of little ball of herbs, okay? And then I hold that in my hand, and then from there I'm just going to cut that really, really fine. Okay, I cut it once that way, vertical. Now I'm going to go through and I'm going to cut it horizontal. And back. And that's going to give me a really nice fine dice of that cilantro. So we'll scoop that up, and now that's going to go into our dish as well. Okay, that's in there. All right, next we need a lime. So I'm going to take one lime, cut this in half. Okay. And then to add our lime, basically what I do is I just, limes doesn't really have any seeds in it, but I typically will just squeeze the lime over my hand and let the juices run through, and I catch any pulp or seeds in my fingers. So I just squeeze, and just let that juice just drip in over top. It looks really cool. If you got people looking at it, it makes you look like you're really a professional chef when you do it this way. It's fancy, and I mean, you can just smell the lime when you're doing that and you're putting this into your dish. It's really, really nice. So next, same thing with the second half. Squeeze. Now, if this doesn't work, if the lime is really hard and you can't get that, you can also use a fork to kind of just press into the lime as you're seeding it or getting the juice out. So, and to do that, I mean, I got a spoon here, but basically all you would do is, if this is a fork, just kind of take it and grind it around, and that will help get the juices out as well. All right, all that goes into your scrap bowl, and now we have all of our vegetables and fruit into our bowl. So we just got a few finishing touches now that we need to make. So the things that I'll also put into this salsa, is just a touch of salt. Now I'm gonna use just some kosher salt. I think this is better than iodized. Iodized has a little bit more of a metallic flavor. You could use sea salt as well, or iodized would work. I prefer the kosher. So I'm just gonna put just a sprinkling, just a little bit. So probably a little more than a pinch. And then typically what I've noticed is that my salsa, when I get done, it's really fresh. It's got a lot of flavor, but I want it just a little bit sweeter. So you don't have to do this, but I typically do. I'll go ahead and just add just a teaspoon of sugar. So just a teaspoon sugar. I sprinkle that over. That's just white granulated sugar. We're then going to mix this all up, and you guys will really be able to see the colors of this just come together. It's just an absolutely beautiful salsa. And it smells amazing. It looks amazing. Really a great party dish. Healthy thing to make. You know, if you're sitting down for like a movie, instead of like maybe a cheesy salsa or a cheesy queso or something like that, just a lot better for you. Yeah. Okay. So we mix that all together. Okay. And there it is, guys. What do you think? Isn't that beautiful? That's amazing. All right. So now I'm going to go ahead and just give it a quick taste. Yeah. It's just absolutely great. It's absolutely great. And that's pretty much it, guys. Now you have your mango salsa. You put it in your favorite dish or your favorite serving dish, and give it a go. This is an absolute crowd pleaser. They're gonna love it. All right, guys, that's pretty much it on how to make the mango salsa. This recipe is, like I said, absolutely amazing. It's a great appetizer if you guys are having guests over, or just something to make if you're gonna like sit down and watch a movie, or for tacos, you could put it next to tacos or on some Mexican food as well. We'll give it a try right now, but I took a spoonful of it earlier, and I'm telling you, it's absolutely delicious. So here we go. You guys, this is it's just so fresh. It's sweet. It's absolutely delicious. You guys got to try it. Okay. If you guys like my video, be sure to hit the thumbs up button. And if you want to see more of my content, then please be sure to subscribe. Also, be sure to hit the notification bell if you'd like to be notified of all of my future content. I hope this guys helped you out a lot, and I hope you really enjoy the recipe. Thanks again for watching.